Ang pag-uusapan po natin ngayong umaga, ay ito nga nangyayari sa Negros Occidental sa Toboso Municipality, ano? At maraming mga lumalabas na mga teorya at kung ano-ano pa tungkol dito. Kaya minabuti naming i-organize itong podcast na ito para i-try na sagutin itong mga tanong ang lumalabas. So kasama natin ngayong umaga ay si Inday Espina Varona, isang Batikan long-time veteran journalist na taga Negros din, taga Bacolod City, at isang matalik na kaibigan. Si Inday ay kasama bilang advisor ng editorial committee ng Rights Report. Good morning, Day.
Magandang umaga, Kaloy.
Yeah.
Magandang umaga, Dana.
Kasama din natin ngayong umaga si Dana Batnag, isa ring batikang journalist na matagal na natin kilala, matagal na rin journalist. Isa rin siyang membro ng advisory committee ng Rights Report Philippines, isang abogado din. So meron siyang a certain perspective na pwedeng pag-usapan natin dito. At isa sa mga pag-uusapan nga natin ay yung particularly yung mga tanong na ni-raise ni Dana sa isang story niya for Rights Report. In any case, magandang umaga, Dana.
Umaga, Kaloy. Magandang umaga, Inday.
So okay, simulan natin itong nangyari noong April 19, nagkaroon nga ng 12-hour gun battle or encounter or whatever you call it sa Toboso town, so munisipyo ng Toboso sa Negros Occidental. 19 yung namatay at kahapon nga nagsabi na ang Communist Party of the Philippines na 10 doon sa namatay ay mga rebelde ang kasama nila sa New People's Army at yung 9 doon ay mga civilian. So pag-uusapan din natin yan. No? At syempre nung nangyari itong insidente na to, ang dami-dami ng mga report na lumabas, pero isa sa mga pinalinaw ni Dana nga doon sa istorya niya ay ang dami-dami mga tanong na hindi pa natatanong. At more importantly, marami pang mga impormasyon, mga detalye na hindi talaga ganun tawag dito, convincing na nilalabas ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. So simulan natin, no? Dana, yung storya mo medyo nagkaroon ng I would say, malawak na reaction, ano? Kasi nga, I think if I'm not mistaken, you were the first to raise specific questions dun nga sa nangyari sa Negros, ano? Anong follow-up mo doon? Anong follow-up analysis mo, tingin mo sa reaction sa story mo?
Hindi ko nakita lahat ng reactions. Pero yung isang nakita ko ay nagdagdag siya ng mga tanong. Una, explain ko muna paano ko hindi siya talaga story for me. It's just a series of questions. Pero paano nangyari yon? Kasi nung una, I was reacting based on my experience and my own personal knowledge about the parties involved, the NPA, the military, right? Pagkatapos, nag-search ako online kasi tinitignan ko lang kung ano yung pumapasok sa Facebook feed ko eh. Nag-search ako online sa stories and then nakita ko, ang daming kulang. Ang una, akala ko, it was an NPA camp. So sa akin, bakit sila nasa NPA camp? Eh di madidisgrasya ka talaga doon. Bakit sila pinapasok doon pagkatapos hindi in-insure ng mga kalabas? And then, wala naman palang term na NPA camp. Ito sa temporary encampment. Ano ibig sabihin ng temporary encampment? According to the military, nandiyan ba sila ng 3 linggo? Bumaba ba sila ng 1 araw? Walang malinaw. And yet we have judged people and we are quarreling with our friends kasi akala natin because of something that is not even sure, right? So, tapos may isang nag-point out doon. So, about the running gun battle. Okay, somebody pointed out, in a running gun battle, wala bang fired shots yung mga NPA? Bakit isang sundalo lang ang nasugatan of all people? Siya lang at 2 kamay pa pareho. Yung ganun. And then,
kung totoo,
hanggang ngayon,
24 weapons yung nakuha.
Exactly.
Iba-iba kasi.
Hindi rin sinabi saan nakuha yung 24 weapons eh. 'Di ba? So ang ano is pangalawa, even the running gun battle. In some stories ang nakita ko, series of clashes. Iyon yung naka-parenthesis na dinescribe ng military. Tapos mukhang na-describe na lang ng reporter as a running gun battle because that's what a series of clashes would look like. Pero ang running gun battle, tumakbo sila from one point to another eh. Paano sila tumakbo? Ang series of clashes would be there's one here and then there's another here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Pero according to the NPA, mukhang isang grupo lang involved. So hindi pa rin malinaw Kasi yung journalist, supposedly, yung isa ko nakitang account, nasa Sitio Clarinding siya talaga. Wala siya sa Sumaguan where the battle started. And then, may isang story that says, bloated yung katawan niya, kaya hindi magkasya sa kabaong, kaya hindi pa ma-turn over. And yet, may isang post ng picture niya supposedly sa Kalinaw, shortly after, na parang hindi naman bloated yung katawan. Paano naging bloated?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yes, ang daming questions and nobody is asking them kasi dapat yun yung pinapaliwanag.
Yeah.
Kasi, parang di ba we have to imagine, running gun battle, patay na sila lahat ng April 20. So,
Yeah.
ibig sabihin, nakuha mo na lahat ng baril na nakatabi ng katawan. And that's important. Kasi sa IHL, if you are not firing a gun, you're not a combatant.
Yeah.
So,
Kahit
hindi
na
pwedeng sabihin,
kahit nakasama mo sila.
and you cannot, that means you cannot be killed. You can be arrested, but you cannot be killed. So, hindi pwedeng sabihin na, kasi iniwan nila sa gubat at saka sila tumakbo. Bakit patay?
Mhm. That's a
Bakit
good
mo
question.
sinabing combatant?
Mhm.
So, actually, yung mga questions na iyon, they are preliminary questions for deeper questions.
Going to you, Dai, based on that one, sinabi ni Dana, these are outstanding questions. Do you think, but first of all, anong naging initial reaction mo din kung sa nangyari na to? But second, do you think itong mga questions na to ay going to be capably tackled by whoever's going to investigate this?
Oh, well, I think so. But una, no, what did I think? Immediately when I saw 19, parang gumano na, nag-straighten up agad ako na parang 19 NPAs killed in parang, okay, dun pa lang parang it didn't really sound right, you know. Not only because they've said that the MPA in Negros has been decimated so much na parang a couple of months ago, sinabi nga lang 6 or
Wala na.
something, gano'n, no? But also because when the stories came out na, I remember the Himamaylan.
Yes.
Yun ang series, no? Parang
Mhm.
gano'n yun na ilang araw yun talaga eh. Dun sa pag-evacuate, dun sa who can be trapped. Kasi si Marcel, I was for Rappler then inano ko si Marcel na let's see beyond, you know, what the military or whatever other groups are saying. Punta ka doon, try
Excuse
to
me, this is Marcel Espina, who is also
This is
Negrense
Marcel
na
Espina,
journalist.
oo.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Bacolod na journalist. And pumunta siya doon. At pumunta siya sa ilang evacuation centers, doon sa tuktok ng bundok, mga simbahan na maliliit. Doon nakausap yung mga tao. Trap nga yung mga tao nung nagtakbuhan na. Kasi nagbabakbakan na hindi na sila makaano. Ang layo ng tinakbo ng mga tao para makadating doon sa isang simbahan na maliit, actually a Christian church that open its door for people. So doon ko na na pwede kasi talaga malayo na hindi ka combatant, within the area ka, nagputo ka na, alsahan na yung mga tao, tapos minsan I don't think the military comes in just one position. It will position itself in various possible exit roads. So maghahanap ang mga tao talaga kung saan sila makaalis ng matiwasay. No?
Yeah.
If that is even possible under those conditions.
So, balik na sa pangalawang tanong, Dai. You think all of this information, the CHR or whoever else na mag-investigate dito, given the conditions on the ground in Toboso and many of the underlying, they would be capable of going to the heart of this?
I think if the higher up in the executive, let's say the president says, okay, the CHR, gets a pool of independent experts, let's say, kung forensics, si Dr. Fortune, for example, ang iba dyan, I think pwede yan. Pero kailangan ng merong hindi makikialam ang presidente, for example, but just magsabi na, these people are allowed, we will leave the CHR and other rights organizations, for example, na mag-conduct yan. I think it still can be done. ang napansin ko doon kay Dana, yung mga questions niya, tama ba ako? Kasi parang minsan kasi kinukuha lang kung anong sinasabi ng sources no? And then tatakbo ka kasi may deadline kung ano man yung deadline. Pero kasi natuto na tayo dapat sa drug war, di ba? Kung yung I actually remember Dr. Fortune saying no na kailangan ng journalist matuto so that they are able to cover better para mas nakakaintindi sila na nangyayari at hindi lang kumukuha at hindi lang nag-e-echo ng kung anong sinasabi ng mga tao.
Let's focus on that for a bit because ayaw naman natin maging unfair sa mga kaibigan natin, mga kasama natin journalists dito, ano? Kasi of all the areas sa Pilipinas na medyo dicey i-cover, kasama dyan yung Negros. Given the history, given the insurgency, given the violence there. I mean, hindi lang naman yan nag-iisa, obviously, but all the three of us have had experiences on this one in many different context, no? Dana, I remember you covered sa Luzon at the time, yung Marag Valley yata. I think you were there.
Marag. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can draw from all of these experiences a bit, and also you, Inday, kung ano yung konteksto ng mga ganitong klaseng coverage and what prevents or hamstrings journalists from really, getting this information, what prevents all of that? Dana?
Access, bawal.
Oh yeah, of course. Is that all
To be fair,
from you?
Ako, to be
Dana?
fair, dun sa mga nakita kong stories online, I had a sense na may mga details na hindi nalalagay. Maybe because ang tingin ng editor ay dapat news story lang ito, kaya maikli. For example, may story na lumabas about evacuees. Identifying kung saan yung evacuation areas, kung ano-ano na yung assistance na nabigay a day after the evacuation. Walang detalye how they were evacuated. So, ang iniisip ko doon, nagpunta ba yung reporter actually to talk to them? At kung nagpunta siya, kasi wala ako nakitang quote from the evacuees. Kung nagpunta siya, naalis kaya yung quotes? Or was that a press release na ginamit niya, kaya walang quotes from the evacuees? So, yung isa doon yun nga, yung sabi ni Inday, access. Pangalawa is fear. In a conflict situation, you can imagine na katatapos lang magbarilan, pagkatapos nandun na sila sa isang evacuation zone, and from day one, kinakausap na sila ng authorities. Talking about anti-terrorism, sa palagay mo, anong sasabihin ng mga taong iyon pag may reporter na nagpunta?
Yeah. Good point.
Isa pa dagdag ko dyan, Loy, sa Himamaylan dati, talagang screenin. Hindi pwede, nung dun, nilagay na sila sa malaking evacuation center, kaya napilitan kami magpapunta kay Marshall somewhere else. Hindi makapasok Hindi makatanong ang media sa evacuees doon. So meron talagang ganun. Tama si Dana, may ganung factor.
Is that because of may nilagay na kordon ang militar o talagang takot?
Both, nagsabi ang militar kasi kailangan pa screen ng panahon na yon, pero ang DSWD rin nagsabi, and may tama rin naman sila na mga private individuals ito at minsan raw may mga media na nakatutok ang mga camera dun sa mga mukha ng mga evacuees, which is sometimes also a problem. Pero napakiusapan naman, ang sabi nila, pwedeng lalabas lang, pupili, lalabas ang tao, nakatayo dun sa isang parang mini platform habang ini-interview na parang natakot yung mga tao, ayaw na magsalita dahil nasa focus sila ng lahat ng tao nung ginawa yun.
Well, gusto ko lang susugan ng konti yan, Inday at saka Dana, kasi sa experience natin covering conflict areas, si Dana sa Luzon and other places, ikaw Day sa Visayas, and ako sa Mindanao, it's always true na ang gobyerno or ang militar, they always try to control the media or at least limit their movements. We can pwede tayong manghula kung bakit nila ginagawa yun, but this has always been the case, especially in the Mindanao area, Zamboanga, Basilan, Sulugan yan. Hardly any independent reporter can go there na talagang to really report from the ground. Meron ka talagang kailangang access from the authorities. And I think hindi naman katakataka yan, because there are issues of security and safety. But at the end of the day, if the military, if the government, if the police is going to restrict access wholesale to whoever's looking into this, I mean, it doesn't serve the interest of transparency and justice, But obviously, lalabas yung issue na yan in the investigation that's coming. Tubutukan na lang natin ang CHR as a final point on this on the part of the for this part of the conversation. Tingin nyo the military, the national security establishment, the Marcos administration has the willingness to give CHR what it needs to determine what actually happened?
Sa totoo lang, kung hindi sila bigyan ng access, that's also a violation. Remember that the right to life includes the right to an investigation when the right to life is violated. And the right to a meaningful investigation, hindi yung basta-basta investigation. So kung ayaw nilang magbigay ng access, fine, that's a violation.
Yeah.
I-note lang ng CHR.
Yeah, that's true. And in fact, I think that's going to be, in speaking of violation, maraming international commitment sa mga covenants ang Philippine government na pinirmahan. And that can easily be cited in case na hindi nila bigyan ng access o di kaya ng tamang resources o leeway ang CHR para tingnan ito.